kick his ass.
You guys, this is all Kyle's mom's fault. Shut up, Cartman! Kyle's mom is the one that started that damn club, and all because she's a big, fat, stupid bitch. Don't say it, Cartman! Wait! Don't do it, Cartman! Wait! I'm warning you! Okay.
Hello, peasants.
Want to kill all humans?
Work there, dude.
Do it. Hey, we are live
Hey, now.
here on YouTube. What is up, everybody?
Hey, now.
That's right. I mean, hey, we are first day in October. You guys know me, normal host James here. You guys know
Yes.
Ben, normal host who's here. You guys have recognized roommate Bergio. For the first time ever, we've got Liz, Pretty Hate Machine, here on the show. What's up?
Thank you for having me. I'm really stoked.
I know.
I love you guys.
I've seen you, all over the social medias, and I edit your podcast every month with Big Dan. So it was like, finally, I get to talk to you and hang out.
I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to talk about Simpsons.
Hell yeah! But normally when we start off the show, we usually ask, how everybody's doing, how's life going. So how's life hanging with Liz these days? How's it going? Your side.
Life's going great. I have a new podcast out called Fright Cap, which has an accompanying YouTube series. It actually started off as a YouTube series with my husband Brandon, and I'm going to be
Fright Cap.
Fright Cap.
You get it.
And it's just
And
horror.
You get Fright Cap, don't you, James? You understand what that's a play on?
No, I
Nightcap.
don't.
Like when you have your nightcap, your little last drink,
you
a
have
Fright
the
Cap.
nightcap.
It's your little spooky. Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, James. Get with it.
I get it. I'm getting there.
It originated. All we do is sit around and talk shit. Can I
Oh my
curse?
God.
Yeah, I mean,
May
that's
I
what
curse?
we hear is
Okay.
talk shit. If you list
So,
half the things that comes out of
just-
Ben's mouth on this show.
I just want to ask before. So we just sit around and talk shit all the time. That's our marriage, and that's what we do before we go to bed. We're sitting talking shit about, some movie, or we're talking shit about something, and that was just something that popped in our head. Like, why don't we just record this? Maybe some people would find it amusing, and it Fright Cap came from that because we're just horror fiends, and that evolved to the podcast. So then we also do, as you know, James and Ben, well, everybody here, that we do the Big Dan's Eat With Your Eyes.
Yes, new episode came out
That's
today.
also on this network.
It's out right now.
Yeah. With Nicole.
So if
And
you're watching
I
this
love
live
Big Dan
or
to
listening
death.
to it Saturday, go check it out. Yeah, what you guys
Get plugged for
this week?
Big Dan.
You guys made these tacos this week, right?
Man, those are the best fucking tacos you will ever have. But only, I can't cook. Disclaimer.
I can
can cook
either, but
Southern
Sergio
food.
cooks everything here.
I do like to cook, and I do like to cook with Big Dan's. We go through his dry rubs very quickly.
That's what I use exclusively now. Everything, like at the spice stores, Big Dan. The sauces are Big Dan. My kids live for Big Dan. They think he's like Southern Chef Boyardee. They go in the
Southern Chef
in the-
Boyardee.
the dining room and they draw the pig and stuff. And my stepkids do it, and they'll give it to us and be like, "Can you give this to Big Dan? We drew the pig. We drew the pig for him." And
Oh.
I'm like, "Wow, it's
So,
crazy to me."
That's beautiful.
I know.
That's the thing with Dan in general is it's and I've known him since 6th grade, so I've known him a very long time. But
Sixth
since
grade.
6th grade, listen, I'm going old school.
He was little Dan.
He was
Baby Dan and baby.
Was it at
baby
one?
Dan.
And not only was he baby Dan, but he was like 1/4 the Dan that he is now. But I actually listened to that this morning, Liz, while I was driving around, and it's hysterical because like the whole thing, what sets him off, and I think it was you that called it out, is like obviously it's going to be food and a thing that just flips him over an edge, right? Because there's at
Yeah.
one point in the show where he just stops the world and he's like, "Who puts fat back in this? This is the dumbest thing." Like, and just was, I mean,
That was a great big Dan voice,
He-
Ben, by the way.
Oh yeah, he's got it down.
completely offended by that. I don't. So
I love it.
But it was when you guys were talking about the shells and how he crafted that. Like I could hear, like you, Brandon, Nicole. I could hear everybody just in this shocked silence as this man breaks down the entire process, and it's like. It really is like teach us, O master, in that moment, and it was one of the funniest.
Mhm.
He's like a Jedi.
Dude, he's talking about, you cook off. What you want to do is you want to save that top part, that stuff that cooks off there. That's the fat on there, and it's got all that good seasoning in it. It's got the it turns as bright red, and you just scoop all that off. Now you don't throw it away because you're gonna need it for later. It's the funniest shit I've ever heard in my life. Like I like literally was rolling. And meanwhile, like in my head, I just see 3 people like just staring at a screen going, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly it. Crack me up. Love-
I wish you guys could see Brandon's reaction to everything that he eats that he gets from Dan. Because I'm like, God damn, act like that when I make something. You know, like he gets something, he's like, oh my God. It's like, granted, those tacos were the best tacos I've ever had. I will say that. But like we're eating these tacos and his whole face lights up. And I'm like, God damn, I cook every night. Come on.
Hey, what was in those tacos?
Yeah.
Fat and it's crazy. It was like brisket barbecue, and he took that. I asked him. I was like, "What were these angel tortillas? Like these tortillas from heaven? How did you do this?" I thought he went and bought some like crazy Whole Foods expensive shit for this or something. He was like, "You just go get the cheapest tortilla you can find, fry it in that fat." Go back and forth, fry it in that fat, and that's what turns it into that fluffy, and I'm like, no way. And he did. That's what he did. And I don't know how he does that magic. He's literally a redneck magician in the kitchen.
He goes, well, what you do is you take it and you get the cheap ones, and then you take it and you dip it. You run it right in that red, and then you just take it in there, man, and you toss it onto your griddle.
I can't wait till Big Dan messages us and just like, I don't sound like that.
Oh no, dude! I do that for him too. Like that's the thing. I do it for him too, and he has told me to stop it before because I think it creeps him out that I
See, now you just do it live on air
that
instead.
I sound that close to him. I think that's what it is that he gets weird when he hears himself back.
Well, I've told y'all he sounds like Ralph Emery to me.
Right.
Straight up. That's all I hear when I hear Dan. Even just talking to Dan in normal conversation. We went out to dinner a couple weekends ago. Me and Dan, his wife, and his youngest. And that's all I hear is Ralph Emery when he talks. And I absolutely love it.
See, and
Yeah, when he sent us the like the ad that we play before every episode on Spotify, when I somehow I downloaded it on my phone without, I don't know how it happened, but it got like set as like my like callback like ringtone. So like normally my phone's on vibrate, so like I don't have. But like if I do a Find My Phone app or I put the volume on, you'll just suddenly hear it like, this is Big Dan. That's
I
when
love it.
rings.
His ad needs to be my
oh my
ringtone.
God. It's
I'm making myself a
send it
note
to
of
you.
that right now.
I'll send it to you if you want.
Thank you.
just take the end so when it rings, it goes, it's a Big Dan deal. That's what I want. Anyway.
Yeah, thank you, Liz, for hanging out with us on the show.
Well, thank you for
you're
having
all-
me. Thank you for inviting me.
So you're from Tennessee, where Ben is, right?
I am. If you can't tell by my accent, I'm born and raised in Tennessee.
How far from where we shot Were Deer?
What do you think, Ben? Like 45 minutes?
Yeah, you're in.
outside of
Yeah,
Westmoreland?
you're in Sumner, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, we shot up in the northern part of the county, and where Liz stays is sort of like southern part of the county, like kind of between Westmoreland and Nashville, James.
So were you aware that we were filming this movie around there?
No, and all
rest
of
of the
this,
town-
it's so weird how we're all connected because Brandon, my husband, was Toxie for a con here, and he had met Ben, and he knew of Ben shooting the film in Westmoreland at the time, but I didn't know Brandon
Oh.
then. So it's funny how we all inadvertently knew each other.
And then how these circles
works.
start to close up, because I also don't know if I told you, James and John, like Liz and I also worked on another movie together.
Oh, what
What
movie?
movie?
Yeah.
Jinx, Minnesota.
Clone Cops. So
Oh, you worked on Clone Cops.
we never saw each other on set. Like Derek and I were off because I think the day that you came in to do your thing, they had us offset, building somewhere else or taking care of something. We may have been returning something. But it turns out that entirely we've also got a credit in the same thing.
What did you do on Clone Cops, Liz?
I had a small role as the Quigley Arms hologram. So
Nice.
I'm like the sex appeal of the film, but I'm not really. And I appear and I show people the guns
The
that
gun-
are for sale. That's what I do. And in a scantily clad outfit.
Is Clone Cops even out? Is it out yet at all in any way or finished?
Not yet. It's about to be though. isn't it?
So the director showed up at our sneak peek of Were Deer down here, and he was telling me that they are going to be doing a casting crew watch at some point. Like he's looking at getting like a theater or something rented out so they can do a casting crew screening. And then from there, I assume they're going to be looking for distribution, but I don't know too much on the inside of that, other than that's what he told me when he showed up. That, and I will say this because I do think it's very funny. He goes, he says to me afterwards, he's like, "Yeah, thanks for inviting me out." And then after the movie, he comes up to me and he goes, "Wow, man, you know what? The only thing that really kind of bums me out a little bit about that." And I was like, "What bummed you out about my fucking fantastic movie?" He goes, "Yeah, it's like, about maybe 20 minutes into it, he was like, damn, I think they made a funnier movie than I did." And I was like, "Yeah, we did." I'm not even gonna pretend.
It's like, no, we
It's
did.
a very
Sorry.
very, very funny movie that we made.
I was in tears by less than halfway through that. Oh, I was in tears watching that film. I had not seen it before in its entirety, and I was losing it. And so back to Dan. Dan was right in front of Brandon and I in the theater. So when he would just crack up and have that just crazy, just big Dan laugh, just we would laugh even harder because he was laughing so hard. It was great.
Like, and that between that and Trauma Dance, like we've had two wonderful screenings, and each time, it's one of those things we've talked about it to death here, but It is one of those things though that it makes you happy, and if we can continue to screen like that and the audiences still get a kick out of it and we get big laughs, that's all I've ever really wanted. You know what I mean? It's all I've ever
Hell
wanted.
yeah.
And part of the reason too, John pieced it together. He picked up and came in as our finishing editor. So that's Big Papa John right there.
Thank you.
Yes.
Happy to do it.
I forget
It was a great movie.
you met Liz at when down
In
here
Westmoreland.
in Get Well in Gallatin.
I was so happy to be there. It was a magical screening, truly.
It was
It really
ridiculous.
was.
But anyway,
I wish I could be there.
anyway.
Sorry.
Now,
John didn't even have to tell me his name. I was like, I knew him as soon as I saw him. Cuck Island.
Oh,
It was stoked to meet
I'm
you.
so sorry you had to watch that movie.
you've seen all of John Sergio then.
That's so much.
You've seen all of it. There's
I
no
have.
surprises here on this show.
Watch it. Available on www.cuckisland.com for anyone that's listening.
So Liz is trying to get into like either acting in more movies or being on more productions. Is that something you're trying to get into? Do more?
I would love to. I had a very pleasant, with the exception of the haunted setting that we filmed, and
Yeah.
I had a very
heard about
pleasant experience with Clone Cops, and I would actually really love to get into acting further and filmmaking, really, in general.
nice.
So when did
Mhm.
the podcast? So yeah, when was like I want to take my love for horror and start doing stuff with it? Like when did that start?
God, years. I mean, like right out of school, I was just, can I apprentice? I'll be a runner. I'll do whatever I need to do. And I'll, from podcasting, it went into just doing stuff on my own, just doing little piddly things and having no idea how to edit, having no idea how to professionally record, just free,
Yeah.
free
I mean,
balling
we
it
still-
all the way.
We're still figuring it out.
Yeah. And horror hosting is just something like people in Nashville know me for. Because I'm free to I love to do it. So they, you reach out to me, I'm going to do it for free. So they're like, hey, you want to come host this movie, or hey, you want to come do this? I also
So that sounds like the best job.
It does
Like,
sound
I
like
just
a
want to
great-
just be a host. As a horror
I
host.
love
I don't
it.
have to like
I
do all
love
this
it.
nonsense and production and pre-productions and finishing a movie. I can just talk about other people's movies all day.
See, I'm feeling this now. Going on other folks' podcasts and going on other folks' shows is so fucking awesome because I don't have to do shit but
Right.
talk. You don't realize how much effort and energy and how time consuming it can be. James, I don't know how he does it. These are
Podcasts
I'm
and all these.
struggling with 45 minutes, and he's got like 2-hour podcasts to edit down all the time every week. So
The key is
it's
to
rough.
not edit down and just
just let
just
him
keep
go.
Throw an
Yeah.
intro, throw an outro.
Yeah.
James, the most editing that James does, and I'll tell you this because he kind of told me one time, is if he finds like a pregnant pause, he'll trim that down a little bit. And that's really the only editing that he does. So we don't hang.
Well,
with
it's not
that.
out of, but I do want to. It's not out of laziness though.
No.
I do like level it all out and like throw some nice things on it to make it sound good. But also, I love a free conversation. I don't like to censor or clip out things just because I don't think it's funny or not important. That's who.
Right.
I don't feel like I need to be the judge of all that. So, and I like, especially as a guy, like, what got me into podcasting was Kevin Smith, obviously, and he talked about how he doesn't edit down his podcast. He loves to just like keep rambling on with his friends constantly, and that's what I like. That's what I wanted this show to be. So to edit it down, I feel like that I'm just crunching it and taking away from personalities of people.
Right. No, I understand that. But you guys in particular, you've been doing this for a
Too
long
long.
time.
Too long.
You know how to talk together on a podcast. A lot of people don't. And they'll run over each other. It'll all jumbled together. They don't know how to take turns, and they don't know how to uh, steady themselves. You guys do a really good job at that, and it's wild to me that James doesn't actually edit that down because it sounds wonderful.
That's great. I love to hear it. It also helps too that Ben keeps talking. You know, there's a lot of times I can just like say something and then just let Ben go on for a while. I think
Ben
I'm
is the
doing it.
magic
That's what I'm
weapon
doing
for
to
talking.
Ben.
I will say that. That's a big Dan trick too. Ben doesn't know it though. He's like, I may not know about this film, but Ben does. So
See, this is
I'll let him
this is
talk.
where I was just going to sit there quietly. I was going to talk a bit ago, then I just shut up. And no, but it is true, and like I do think there's a part of it that's like genuinely based on like conversation, right? Like that's the whole thing inside of
Yeah.
a podcast is like you have to be able to read people, and part of where I learned to talk to people and listen for things, it all boils down to old school Stern for me, right? Everything goes back to Howard.
Yeah,
Seriously, like it's no joke.
Amen
I,
though.
I believe
Yeah.
it.
The older he gets, his interviews are still the same. He asks these beautiful, like open-ended questions, and then he'll sit and he'll wait for an answer. And then when he hears a thing that triggers him, even if the guest has more to say and he could jump in that moment, he'll sit back, he'll listen for a little bit, and then he'll go back to say, well, how many fingers did you take in your asshole that Saturday night? Because it's all I want to talk about. You know what I mean? Like, then he'll circle back around and hit you with it. And it's like he could have done that 5 minutes ago, but he still let people sort of carry on and build out to see where things go. Like, I think that's desperately important. I think it's desperately important.
Also, for me, this is also where I get all my conversations out. Like, I'm not like a conversational like person in real life. Like, I normally I do not like talking to people. Like, when I'm on set, I mean, I'm a sound guy. I get to be in my own bubble and like fuck off. And so this is where I get to actually learn to actually what it's like to communicate with people.
That's
Guess what helped during COVID.
At one point, John was telling me that's how well he and James got along. James didn't want to talk to anybody, and they were going to do the old sitcom bit where they paint a line down the middle of everything.
Oh, we did.
Oh, you did?
Can't see it on our table right now, but there is a line through our
That's
coffee
amazing.
table where we divided the apartment during COVID.
So
I'm gonna
great.
start doing that with Brandon
You have
in the
to.
house.
You have to.
Let's do it in the bed. Everywhere else.
Jen had
It's all fun and games. Only one person got the whole kitchen, and the other person got both bathrooms. That was it was a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
I love it. So John's on one side. It can't. What is it? Doesn't have any food to eat to take a
can't-
shit, and then meanwhile James is in the kitchen just crapping on the floor and stuffing his face. Like that's
It's just
Feel like
in
a
the
good
sink.
We worked it out, you know.
this is the greatest thing ever. So the greatest thing ever. But
So yeah. So Ben, are you gonna transition into us for the?
oh, I mean, well, listen, this
Part
whole
two.
thing has already been a horror show, so I don't know.
That was a great pitch for the transition too. I didn't even notice until you mentioned it.
Something about trees,
Situational comedy.
houses,
Trees.
tree houses, and a horror show. No, yeah, for spooky season, that's what we're doing. Liz mentioned it before. We are talking about the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On
Pretty much all of them.
ongoing.
Whatever, as many as we all could watch.
Yeah, and it's an ongoing thing that the Simpsons have done since what, season 2? It was
Season
yeah,
2 was the first.
season 2, because the first season was it started at what, around Christmas time, right? The very first episode was like Christmas episode, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, if I'm correct, there was actually a gap between that and like the rest of the season. I could be wrong on that.
No, you're probably right, because what they did was
Well, it was the
You can go.
holiday special was it that the pilot?
yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
See, this I got Virgil on the show because I can't do a Simpsons podcast without this guy. Because this guy's right here. He's
I
an
like-
encyclopedia of Simpsons.
I do like Simpsons a lot. it was every day at the house at 6 o'clock on my 43 The Blocks.
John, we're gonna be best friends.
I love it.
Yeah, so Liz, what's your experience like with Simpsons? I mean, have you watched this from the start and just keep watching it?
Yeah, it was something for me as some sort of weird comforting thing for me as a child because it was so outrageous. I'm old and I'm old enough to have experienced the Tracy Ullman show when it aired, And those little squiggly animations, I was like, what the hell is that? Like, I'm so little. I want to know more because it's a cartoon in the middle of this show that, I didn't quite understand because I wasn't old enough to. So it built from that. And it's fucking hilarious. Like I said, I kind of check out at season 13, season 14. There are some gems. It's just hit and miss, and then it just goes completely downhill for me after a while.
So I'm also in that bracket. Like I had the world's smallest TV / radio in my room. It was one of those little boxes, very small.
Oh, that's in one of the episodes, right? The one that Homer in the Shining episode, the little box that the janitors got.
Absolutely. That's very much like the television I had in my room. It was very small, and it was a black and white screen. And I remember vividly, I vividly remember watching the Tracy Ullman show because I felt the same way. Like, I was a Fox fan from, and James knows, like Married with Children, I watched the first episode when it aired. And like between that, the Tracy Ullman show, the Gary Shandling show, like I was a Fox baby through and through. And it's the same thing. You see this weird little cartoon that you have no idea where it generated from in the middle of a very adult-ish sketch comedy show with all these characters and this whatever. And it was the only thing that made sense to me in that. But I knew I loved the comedy. I knew I loved what was going on. And I don't know if you can find it anywhere. I really don't think you can, but I also haven't looked in like 12.
The Tracy Ullman show sketches.
Yeah.
They're all available. You can find, I think Disney Plus has an archive of them, but they're also on YouTube.
Oh, Disney Plus has a Tracy Ullman show?
I believe they have at least the Simpsons comics from it. I could be wrong. I
meant the Tracy Ullman show itself.
I don't know where you could find that in the Internet Archive. I have a question for you guys though with the Tracy Ullman show. So there was the other cartoon that aired on
oh wow,
that wasn't the Simpsons. That was like a very I don't want to say uppity lady, but that's what that's what comes to mind immediately. Do you guys have any remembrance of her? No.
Vaguely that you say it, but no real good recollection at all.
Because I know historically Tracy Ullman hated The Simpsons.
Yeah.
And that was her favorite cartoon. That was like, this is the one that's gonna make it. And even the fans back then do not remember it. Here's my evidence. I rest my case.
I love it. It's.
I don't remember another one.
I'll see if I can find her name of what the character was.
Oh, you have to, yeah, because that's a wonderful point. You really don't know what's going to hit, and like that's the other thing I truly enjoy about comedy is that it's or I guess about maybe even comedians too, right? There's the unfunny thing that all comedians seem to generate to, they gravitate to. They love the idea of the unfunny thing being the funniest thing. And then the thing that's actually like slap your ass funny is the thing that they sort of steer away from. But then the audience in mass is like, that's my thing. It's it's sort of like Dice Clay's record, The Day the Laughter Died. Have you guys ever listened to that? Are you guys Dice fans?
Andrew Dice Clay?
Hey.
Find this.
Yeah.
Okay. And this has nothing to do with Tree Houses of Horror, but it is its own special horror show. Like, seriously. Just real quick, it's the greatest concept for a comedy record ever. You go up, you tell non-jokes, you are abrasive, abusive to your audience, you don't do the bits that you're known for, and you don't even put any comedic inflection on what you're trying to say at all. It is obnoxious. It is just flat rude. It's mean. It is impossible to listen to at a certain point, but it is the greatest exercise in like walking a room. And hands down, one of the funniest records I've ever heard in my life. The whole thing devolves into a real physical fight. And it was done at it was recorded at Dangerfields. But a guy is so upset that Dice isn't really like doing anything funny that he thinks. And then they start yelling at each other, and you just hear a microphone get tossed down, and he's like, "You take another fucking step, motherfucker, I'll crack your fucking skull." And that's where it cuts off. It's the best comedy album ever.
How it ends.
And it's not funny, but it's hysterical. I'm sorry. It is. And it's like magic in a bottle. And I think that's what The Simpsons became, is sort of that magic in a bottle. You know what I mean? Like but I mean, it was always funny. It's not Dice. That's the other lady that's Dice, I think. I don't know the point I'm trying to make. I don't know.
I found this. If you can see it, Ben. I
Oh,
don't know
Liz,
what the
wow.
hell was that. I don't remember it.
Peggy, Poppy.
I've never seen that in my
Doctor
life.
Yeah.
N apostrophe. Nope. I don't have my glasses on. Dr. N exclamation point. Gudaku. Go. I don't know.
Of Dr.
Datu.
Ndaku. Okay.
You don't want me to try to look at these names.
Godatu. I don't know.
Dr. Engodatu.
The hell was that?
Yeah.
I don't
That-
ever remember that being on Tracy Ullman.
Never seen.
I do not remember that at all.
Uh-uh.
At all. It's the craziest thing I've ever
Well, it takes
heard.
the 24-year-old in the room to remind us about the Tracy Ullman show.
Well, that's so my issue with my age in The Simpsons. If I could quickly go into a little ramble about that.
Well, this also blows my mind, is that John is the one who knows The Simpsons more than anyone I know, and was born, like way like almost 10 years after The Simpsons even came out.
I mean, I definitely don't know the most of the people I know. Bjarne knows more than I do.
That's true.
I bet.
Bjarne's he's different.
But my complaint with The Simpsons older episodes for me is that I've got to like do homework to fully understand the jokes. And even James was pointing out, like, they're making jokes about like Supreme Court justices that are from the 70s that I would never have known. So because of that, I find myself frequently Googling, or I used to frequently Google while watching The Simpsons, so I can learn all these other pop culture things. And I guess that was just somehow got stuck in my head along those Googles was the failed cartoon that went along with it.
We were so little when we were watching it. We didn't know really.
No.
We didn't know that humor.
No. And
That's fair.
It just looked cool, and they sounded cool.
and
And
like there's always a thing for me where when I was a kid, if there is a kid, like I'm an only, so I would I would absolutely gravitate towards any character that was nearish my age. And I loved sitcoms, and I love family sitcoms because, again, my family was small. So if it gets larger and it gets bigger, it's a dynamic that I enjoy. And it is. And then when you see, I know we're gonna make
Aw.
everybody cry now. This is where I do it. This is how it is, guys. I want to let you know. I feel bad. I never had a.
When they make like the Ben Johnson biopic, it's gonna just be about you as a kid, like watching family sitcoms,
That would be the early years. I'm just saying, it really would be. I grew up with TV too. I'm of the age that like TV informed like my entire life, my entire existence, and like you get into those first episodes, even when they sort of spun off. I remember watching the Christmas special, the first, like the pilot for The Simpsons, and being like, this is amazing. And even though there are those parts that all the parents hated, right? Like they absolutely despised Eat My Shorts, the horrible Jingle Bells, Batman Smells, all of that stuff that sent people into a rage for no reason. It's just the silliest thing ever. And I think it was because you had a kid who's like 9, 10 years old, and he shouldn't be talking like that. But I also think it's the window that it showed back to everybody that they didn't like, because that's what your kids were coming up being. You know what I mean? It had already started in like 86, 87. The kids were being assholes. And
Bart just gave him a symbol.
right. He became their martyr. He became their
And he literally
Yeah,
was.
he was.
When we were kids, yeah, he was. He was on everything. There was every
Bartmania.
sort of
I mean,
Bart Simpson shirt.
Isn't it the song?
I can't tell you
What's
how
the
many
song?
Simpsons
Isn't there like the Bart
things I kept.
Bartman written
Do
by
the
Michael
Bartman.
Jackson.
Yeah.
The Bartman.
They also
They-
I mean, they have a few albums total,
Mhm.
and they even make a joke about that in the Monkey Paw episode that we watched, where like the
Yeah.
Simpsons wish to be famous, and then everybody hates them for being famous.
And then there was like the rip-off shirts
Oh.
too. Like you go to the mall and they'd have like the bootleg Bart shirts were the best because they didn't make sense.
They were so special at a time when, so the official merch always had Bart on it. But then if you got a bootleg Bart,
And I've seen a lot of bootleg like Bart like weed shirts around
Yup.
for a while, just Bart smoking weed.
I almost put that on today.
Yeah.
I should have. Dang it.
but he usually like back in the day, it was like a horrible drawing of like Matt Groening's original, like, I guess, what is it, Life in Hell drawings or whatever. The original, like, Bart would always have this weird bigger bulbous nose. His hair looked more like Hugo Simpson in them, and his shirt would usually be white, and then his shorts would be like some other color, and they never looked really yellow. It was more like this weird, like, burnt orange. It was such a fun time for knockoffs. Really was.
It really was. And it would say something so stupid like cows, man.
Yes.
Or or something like that.
Or like Oi Gewalt. Like there's something special. Like I would go when you would go on vacation. That was the other thing. So the couple of times I went to New York, even still when I was up into like 6th grade, you could find knockoff Simpsons stuff on like street corners in New York. You would find it. I graduated high school in '98, and I still remember as South Park's coming up, Simpsons are kind of going out, but there was a very wonderful time where you would find bootleg South Park shirts and bootleg Simpsons shirts, like still just sort of existing in a world.
Take me back.
Now it's just Rick and
Weed,
Morty.
yeah.
Everywhere.
It's Rick and Morty everywhere.
It's true though. Brandon and I went to some pub in Gallatin, a pizza pub in Gallatin, close to where you screened Where Dear, and they had a yes, and they had like this weirdly drawn Meeksies on the
Yes.
front, and I was like, "This is our place.
Fucking Ben took me there.
Yo,
This is our place."
the next time you guys end up there, hit me up. Like I live spitting distance
Okay.
from there. Yeah, please do.
We loved it.
It's a great little place. I love that spot.
Yeah, just you want to get in touch with Ben, just Hakaluga.
Yeah, that's all you
got
got
to
to do is like,
Oh,
it's just Tarkalug and it's everywhere. But
But
okay, so the Simpsons established themselves. We could do this all night. Simpsons established themselves with a holiday episode. So apart from doing, like Valentine's isn't a big enough thing. I'm sure there's a Valentine's episode in that first season, probably, or leading up to. But by the time we get to like season 2, the television cycle was still going, and like it would start around or just after Labor Day, and then it would kick off through September into October. So you would have like 3, maybe 5 Sundays before you would get to Halloween. And Halloween is obviously like I would think the next sort of biggest thing next to Christmas. I mean, it's certainly not Arbor Day. It's not Labor Day. Valentine's is probably a close third. TV is off during the summer, so it's never going to be 4th of July unless they do it at the tail end of the normal season. So you
St. Patrick's Day.
I mean, St. Patty's falls in there, and a lot of times you will get a good St. Patty's episode out of the thing, but it's not like a yearly deal. I feel like Christmas and Halloween are the two big holidays in the TV season that always gets an episode.
Because I feel like, too, unlike other holidays, those holidays have the most, like, style.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You think Christmas, you're going to think immediately what Christmas is going to look like. Same thing with Halloween. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so when we get to that, The Simpsons is generated controversy. There may be, and John, you correct me if I'm wrong, but they're like, if they were a mid-season replacement, they probably ran that first season between 10 and 13 episodes. And then they come in with this, and they're probably, that first one is what, episode 5, I think? The first Treehouse of Horror?
I think you're pretty spot on.
Yeah. So
I mean, I'm not positive the exact time of each of them coming out, but that sounds right from what I remember from going through Disney.
Yeah, that sounds somewhere in there. Like I think that's sort of the run. But the kicker is like they know they're about to do something because Marge comes out and she explains that you hate us already, you're gonna hate us more. Like
It's so good. Her intros for those first few Treehouse, or the intros to warn you for the first few Treehouse episodes, I absolutely adore. But then in doing that, they were taking away from the time that they had to actually make these really cool segments.
Yeah.
So they ended up just shelving that and just they did the couch gag there for a little bit.
So, and that's the thing in sort of watching through. Now, I watched the first, maybe I think it's 11, and everything says Simpsons Halloween special, at least up to then. And then I don't know where it changes, but I watched the 15th, episode 15 of Treehouse of Horror, and I think on that one it said Treehouse of Horror, but I don't know when they officially switched over and finally accepted that, but it's always been the Simpsons Halloween special.
Well, all the titles, though, if you look on Disney Plus, they'll say Treehouse of Horror.
Yeah, but
even though they don't fit in the episode.
But I'm talking about what you see on
What
the
does the
screen.
TV guide say?
Yeah.
The actual title.
Yeah, what did TV Guide say?
Yeah.
Thank you, John. Yes. Well, like, what did they call it? Because it was the Halloween special, motherfucker.
Yeah, because I mean, they're also only in a treehouse once
Yeah.
in the first episode.
That's true.
Yeah. But that's so iconic. The Simpsons kids, Bart and Lisa in the treehouse, and then what is it? That like pullback or that exposure of
Pans over to
and he's sitting on the branch just shaking.
so good.
That's when Bart's like, "Oh yeah, that story wasn't that bad." It's like when people watch Friday the 13th Part 1, today it's not bad at all. And then they go to Homer on the tree branch, just like freaking out,
Just shaking. And if this is
man, I fucking love Homer.
Homer's a hero, like throughout.
He is.
Absolute hero.
My favorite TV dad. And Marge is definitely my favorite TV mom.
Oh.
I always thought that I was Ralph.
Ralph.
I always identified with Ralph,
Ralph.
and now that I got older, I 500% identify with Grandpa. Now I'm Grandpa. I'm somewhere between Jasper and Grandpa.
Why,
What
Grandpa?
are you, 80?
'Cause
No.
He's just over it though, old man.
Are people mean to you like they are with Grandpa?
Yes.
Places.
Aw.
You don't have kids yet, James. You don't understand.
I can just see Liz wandering around going, teenagers frighten me. Like, the sun doesn't shine like it used to. Like, it's amazing.
Yes. So John, what's your favorite of these Treehouse of Horrors?
I mean, of all of the ones we watched, I have always been a fan of the. Well, I wasn't actually. I used to be afraid of a lot of them. I used to be terrified of Willie when he got caught on fire. My parents used to have a video store, and now you guys will remember they had the VHSs with the Simpson skulls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would make them go and turn them around so I could go past them to get to the movies I wanted to watch because I was that terrified of them. It truly scared the ever-loving daylights out of me. But the Willy one used to always scare me, and the one where the kids get eaten, which I would say is now my favorite, because it also as that they would always end with like just kind of like and we have to end it kind of joke, and this one was terrifying. It was the Inside Out fog, and they're flinging blood everywhere, and Bart gets eaten, and that used to again just scare the ever-loving shit out of me. And these days, I would say it's my favorite one.
Yeah, I mean the animation of them fucking turning inside out is one of the coolest things I think I've seen them do on the show because they have all the veins. Marge has veins like on her hair.
Yep.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
They're like literally squirting
scream the
blood
whole time.
doing their dance. Yeah.
And now that it's not on a tube TV, it's in full HD. It's even worse.
So, and that's the thing with these stories, right? Like the fact that they've got to pull three sort of shorts together. I was reading earlier today that it was like a little gift to the writers that these aren't canon, right? That they don't have to fit into like the overall arc, that it is a thing that sort of exists outside of the stories that they're telling. And I think that gives like Treehouse in particular like this very special kind of room to play where they can do stuff like that, where your leads can get killed off left and right like 3 times in a night if you want to, you know. They're fun. They're a lot of fun. What's your favorite, James?
Yeah, James.
Well, I'm also trying to fix his life. You know, it's very hard to run a live stream from my living room. I just want to say that. No, my favorite episode is the Nightmare on Elm Street one. I can't remember the exact title of it, but it's when the
Nightmare
janitor
on
Evergreen?
Evergreen Terrace.
Evergreen
Yeah.
Terrace.
It's like when like the janitor is like the Freddy character. He's getting into their dreams and stuff. Because I love Nightmare. So then and the Simpsons take on it is great. And so instead of the claws, he's got like the rake, you know, and stuff like that.
So the best part in that bit is when he's down there by the boiler and they're having the PTA meeting, and what is it? Skinner and the parents are talking about all the things that they vote no on.
They need to fix.
And
then
Fire extinguishers free.
and nope.
No.
What is it? Doorknobs.
Sign at the beginning of the episode.
Dumb smart weather.
Lousy smart.
Wasn't there a thing of like
It was like the
parents and
13th
teachers?
Oh yeah, the shared blame conference.
Yeah.
Or we share the blame conference.
it like, and that's the other part. So Simpsons was always known for it's amazing, like the headlines and the jokes that you have to find and like read through and really be
You have to pause.
right, that you have to be aware of as you go into it, right? Like,
I can't imagine trying to stand in front of the tube TV on a VCR being like, no, I swear that's something. Like that must have been awful back in the like I have the glory of I've always been able to pirate or stream or that was one thing my family had growing up was an archive of a bunch of Simpsons episodes on just a hard drive.
I remember when they started.
So I was always able to just pause and see.
I remember when they started putting them out on DVD, and that's when like I started seeing those deeper jokes, because again, you didn't have like you could record it and watch it back and you're absolutely right. There's something sort of lost in the quality of it, but at the same time, that's what lends itself to like rewatchability. Like what was it? There's so many shows that are lost to time, and a lot of it was like Doctor Who famously. There's like portions of entire seasons across the first 2 Doctors that we'll never find again because the BBC was like, "Oh, this is just garbage. We'll throw it out now." They're like, "We're done with it. Who would ever want to watch a TV show again? This is ridiculous." And then meanwhile, now you got 30. What is it, John? 34 years.
34. Yeah, 34
crazy?
years.
34 is on right now.
That's so fucked up.
And they're just about to start
Like that's
that new season.
Yep.
Right?
Which means
Yeah.
we'll be getting another Treehouse like within the
Crazy.
next couple
Yeah, I
of
looked
3
at,
weeks.
so I was trying to find the most recent one because I wanted to watch the most recent one too before I came on the show, and it said that November 6th, I think it said, was 2023
What?
was the new Treehouse horror.
After Halloween.
Yeah, so it said November on IMDb.
That's unusual.
Do you think the strike had anything?
I know that it's not always on Halloween just because of the schedule. Ooh, good question.
Maybe actually, you're not wrong. Probably
because
yeah, I mean they would have been writing it not too long ago. The turnaround's not that like crazy.
Because to John's point, like it's either the week before or on Halloween. I think famously, the way the years sort of worked out, the second one and the 10th one both aired
I mean,
on
maybe
Halloween.
IMDb is wrong, but I looked it up the list earlier when I was trying to look for episodes and said November 6th, 2023.
Wow. Okay.
Although I'm feeling like I'm trying to remember back into later seasons, and I
Everyone's shocked.
might be wrong. I feel like it's maybe this has been a thing for a minute now.
That shortly
I'd
after.
be heartbroken if it was. I do know that season 33 they did a second Treehouse of Horror, which was the Thanksgiving of Horror,
Nice.
and it had nothing to do with Thanksgiving other than the intro, and the rest of it was a Treehouse of Horror.
So
they're really, I think they should just double down.
I think every holiday should be of horror. We'll just put it that way.
That'd be a lot of fun.
The entire season.
Arbor Day of Horror.
But I mean, for me, out of going back and watching these, like the one that stuck with me, I guess in the beginning, well, two things. Number one, I didn't realize just how many classic bits actually came from Treehouse, and I thought it was just simply like Simpsons lore, like the episode where it's virtual reality 3D Homer. The first time they did that, I completely spaced that was in a Treehouse.
Yeah, I didn't know that was Treehouse of Horror for a
Yeah.
long
Is that
time.
Homer cubed?
Yes,
I remember
Homer
seeing
Cube.
that.
Yes, Liz.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember seeing that on TV, just being like, "This is the coolest thing I've ever watched in an animated show." I was like, "You can
It's
do this?
so
Like, you
cool.
can go to 3D and you can bring Homer to reality." I was like, "What is this?" I was like, "I've never seen it like that before."
You guys, in that one Homer Cubed, there is a famous math problem that floats in the background, and it was one of those like famously unsolved problems. And so that you see it, you put it into your regular calculator at home, and it would have spit out that like the Simpsons writer solved it. They finally figured it out. But if you were to put it into like a nice scientific calculator, it was off by like 5 points. And
Wow.
so there was like huge news when that episode came out that was like, the Simpsons writers have struck again. They've solved another math issue.
No,
They didn't.
They didn't. It was a big prank and they tricked everyone.
wow.
My favorite part of that entire segment is just him finding the erotic cakes at the end. The shot, ooh, erotic cakes, and he just goes right in. And that's it.
It just ends.
This world has everything.
All Homer needs the six pack,
It's
and he'll never
it's
leave.
It's a perfect ending, and again, in a thing where you have 7 minutes to sort of fuck around, and you can kind of do anything, and the results don't matter to the rest of what you're trying to do. It becomes like relaxation, I'm sure, for those writers.
I'm sure it was a huge deal too to just even do the 3D on The Simpsons
Oh,
at that time.
massive, yeah.
To even have that on
Yeah.
a TV show, like on like like a network.
Massively massive. Yeah. The one that, and it might be a cop out, but I really don't care. One of the ones that stands out to me the most though is the Raven, when they do the Raven.
And yeah, John's the one who pointed out to me that it's like one of the few Simpsons where they don't like because they parody a lot of stuff and they'll like reference a lot of stuff in there, like, and make a bunch of jokes. But this one just like takes the Raven, pretty much. They're just like quoting it pretty much the whole time, and then doing Simpsons on it.
They do Simpsons.
You can watch that and take a test.
Wait,
Easy.
say that again?
You could watch that and take a test easy
Oh,
in
and-
high school. You would never have to do that thing.
Never. But that I think it's sort of the reason why that one resonates with me the most is because like I love like Poe sort of stuff. Like I get a kick out of it. But to see it in characters that are so goofy, it was one of the first times that I really realized, you can take this very serious stuff and layer it in with some tremendously ridiculous stuff. Because when Homer is chasing Bart Raven around the room, he's yelling at him and he's trying to choke the bird. It's so tremendously goofy and over the top. When you see Marge there, his sweet Lenore, and then there's her giant beehive, and it's so big, it's got its own second frame for the top of the beehive. Like these are just amazing visual gags in something that is it's very melancholy. It should be read in a very spooky ooky kind of way. And they just layer in so much comedy on top of it that it really works. It really, really works. But it starts off like a straight read almost. It really starts off as like almost a straight read, and then it becomes like fucking Three Stooges, man. So good.
I mean, that's what makes The Simpsons great, right? I mean, just taking that, being able to make it funny while keeping it to the page, basically, of dialogue,
What I love the most about the Raven, the one that you point out, and especially the early Simpsons, is the animation from that is so much more dynamic and so much like they do Dutch angles and low angles and high angles, panning shots and tilting shots that you like. After season 14, as Liz points out, when it goes downhill, it's almost like it's just shot like a 3-camera setup on any other setup or any other sitcom.
So Treehouse 4, I think, is the epitome of camera work, if there is such a thing in animation.
That's the one Bart Simpson's Dracula, right?
Yes, so that's the one when Marge is the head vampire. And my favorite segments in that as well, Terror at 5.5 feet. And it goes super dynamic in 4. And I think that's David Silverman.
Oh yeah.
David Silverman's an amazing animation director.
It's gotta be, yeah.
When was he off the show? Do we know?
Do you know, John?
I don't. I would assume. I know there was a big exodus after season 1, after season 2, after 4 and 9 or 8.
I don't think he was around much longer after. I don't think his name is attached to anything after season 6.
Maybe.
That's a good question.
I need to look that up, but he's that episode in particular is all David Silverman. And prior to that, a director would take each segment, and he did everything.
That was all him episodes. I did not know that.
I
That's
didn't
an
know that
amazing
either.
fact.
So, it like the moving camera. I don't know what that's called, but within the animation, the camera's actually it's so cool.
It's so...
And it would all have to still be drawn frames, like they would have to make these like frames, they had to do a fucking dolly zoom, do the Disney style where they have to have like the layers upon layers and push through the layers to create movement, rather than today where you can just be like keyframe here to here.
Right. So I did a quick search. David Silverman. He actually holds the title for directing the most episodes of the show. So there's number 1. He stopped directing. Liz, you're the closest at season 7, after season 7.
Okay.
But he came back for the 13th, 15th, 16th, and 17th Treehouse of Horror episodes. And then he also returned to direct the season 26 episode, The Man Who Came to Be Dinner. Um, so like that's the thing, right? You get a good director who knows what they want to see, somebody who's not scared to play around with like actual filmmaking technique inside of an animated sort of situation, and it shows. And to what both you and John have said, like when you get those Dutch angles, when you're down low, when you're like up and looking up, it makes a cartoon feel like cinema. It makes it very cinematic. And I think it lends itself, particularly with like the Treehouse of Horror stuff, to the parody that they're trying to pull off, you know, because as they hit these horror movies, there's what I want to say, there's not everything is a direct rip of a horror movie. Some are just simple horror stories. But when you're trying,
Or even sci-fi. I mean, they do a good chunk of that. They did an Outer Limits intro in one of them. They did a for what was the Fantastic Voyage.
They did.
Even they did like The Shining. I mean, Kubrick's known for his kind of composition and shots, and these big wides, and they have to recreate all that.
The cupcake.
Yeah.
And they nail it when they're all sitting there frozen. And what was it that was coming on the TV? Shit.
It's like the Emmys or something.
It's something.
Yeah. I didn't know that. So the audio that actually comes out of the TV is what the Simpsons are singing at the end of the episode with the Inside Out fog. If you pay close attention.
Yeah, we just noticed that before.
I'm always looking for different little animation errors or where they cut corners to get it done quicker or faster. Let's have to pick that one up this time.
I love it. Like, yeah, we couldn't do this without you, Papa John. We need you here. This is great.
He knows everything about Simpsons.
Again, I'm learning. I'm still in the process.
So what is it about Treehouse 4 though, Liz, that really sort of sticks with you besides Terror at 5.5 feet? Because you
besides the grandma on the side of us. Poor Hans. Also relate with Hans heavily now in my old age. But it's the mix of scary, like adding the Twilight Zone parodies and everything that 4 in particular with the Night Gallery wraparounds and stuff. But adding that horror into the mix, even though it's not really horror, even though it's just goofy and it's still Simpsons and it's still fucking hilarious. That mix just does it for me.
Also, I feel like it's people who seem to understand horror in a way to make fun of it. That's not like making fun of horror,
Right. I agree completely.
Not just that, people that understand The Simpsons, like, well, it's almost like a Boy Who Cries Wolf situation with Bart. And it makes sense. And that's what I think The Simpsons has always been great at choosing the right character for the right place for the right time. And the expanded universe beyond just the family itself, right? If somebody crashes a car into the prison, who's going to run out? Jailbird. You have to go to the convenience store. Apu will check you out. I always love that they have the right character for the right time. I didn't mean to subject too much there.
That's perfect.
No. I mean, that whole episode with Bart and the bus kind of proves it, Because my favorite bit is when what's the janitor? I keep calling him the janitor. What's his name?
Willie.
Yeah.
Groundskeeper Willie.
Ben knows how much I can't remember people's names. But I love when Groundskeeper Willie shows up. He was like, "Oh, my mule wouldn't walk in the mud, so I had to shoot."
So I had to shoot him 17 times or whatever he says. It's so good. And Ooter in that segment too. Like we're kind of, and Martin and the Wayne Computers shirt, which I've always wanted. They make those replica shirts on like Redbubble or somewhere, and I need to get that one day.
Gotta get it. I mean, when he's like, "Man, Bart's distracting everyone from my shirt."
And he can't find the flares, and they're all in like Jimbo's putting in Martin's pants or something.
And one of them falls out, and then Bart puts it back into his pants.
It's so good. That whole segment is just gold, and that whole episode is gold. And the Night Gallery, like I said, those wraparounds. I think Conan O'Brien wrote those, and it's Conan O'Brien, like the monorail episode that's outside of
That's the most iconic.
Treehouse. But yeah,
like 20 times together.
damn, they had some just a really amazing writers on that show.
All of them, and they all went on to do more great things except for the critic, but the rest of it was great.
Which you can listen to on Spotify. We did talk about the critic one.
Did you? It's also
The Critic is a great show.
Great. I
Actually, really enjoyed John Lovitz as the critic. I really do. I enjoy him in SNL, but I enjoy him as the critic.
I know just like that. The one that was it. Matt Groening hates that one episode where they did the crossover with the critic, right? Isn't that like a totally like
that is a pretty bad episode?
Like he like despises it.
I mean, Matt Groening has very little to do with the show beyond like the writers have a big gong when they're pitching ideas and they smash it. But to my knowledge, Matt Groening is not like even in the writer's room when they're writing a single episode. He's just
Matt Groening is just counting the dollars. Pitch. Like, yeah, okay, cool, sounds great. You can, amazing. Keep going, keep going.
At a
yeah, that's
point,
great.
That's what you have to do when you're the creator, right? Like at a certain point, who cares as long as it brings in money? Like,
and he went on. He kept doing Life in Hell until like 2019 or 2017, like really late into what you'd expect of Life of Hell to continue.
Wow.
That I did not know.
Yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised if like one more book or two come out before, because even what else is he working on? Not Disenchantment.
It's a new season came out. I didn't watch it. But...
And they keep pushing Futurama.
I think
back and
hot take,
forth.
The newest season is written by bots. I think it's AI written.
Ooh. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I haven't really watched. I only watched the one episode. I mean, I didn't hate it, but John watched more, so I haven't gone back and watched it. Because Futurama is my show. Like, I love Futurama more out of like the Groening kind of shows. Futurama is like the one I go to the most. So it's sad.
Oh, if that's the case, yeah.
Just kind of.
It makes my heart sink.
I'm sorry to. You know, it's great. Everybody should at least watch it and form their own opinion of the first 5 episodes. Get to episode 5 and you want to keep watching it.
Shit on the thing you love, and he's like, "I'm sorry."
Like seasons 1 to 15 of Futurama are fantastic because they did it right. They had the right writers. They were doing math jokes. They were more than a joke a minute.
They also did like what is it like 4 or 5 movies while it was on hiatus.
Well, that was like a season though. Yeah, they count that as like a season, right, John? It's like season 7.
Seasons.
Like the Beast with 2 backs.
The Beast with
a billion
backs. A lot more than the Wild Green Yonder and there Bender's Big Game.
You know what making the Beast with 2 backs is, right? That's
explain it to me then.
That's boning.
Please.
When you say you're gonna go make the Beast with 2 backs, it means you're gonna go pound it out.
What does pound it out mean?
Boning, James. Boning.
What's boning mean?
Fucking.
You eventually got him there.
The words keep coming out of your mouth, and it just doesn't make sense to me. I know you're trying to communicate, but I don't know what.
I never learned these things.
Can I ask? I'm going to ask a quick question. And Liz, John, you guys probably know better than me, and it probably got said earlier. Is a Treehouse the series where we first see Kang and is it Kodos?
It's the only times that you see Kang and Kodos.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh. And there is a third one in the first trio, right? The first Treehouse of Horror, when Homer gets sucked into the spaceship and they got the extra beam because there's a guy in there.
They do. They never bring him up.
That's such a good. Or they just can't quite get him up there, so the other one sucks him up. That's such a good segment, and that's such a good To Serve Man. That Twilight Zone episode too. Is that what it's called? To Serve Man. That they base that on?
I'm trying to. I don't know the exact name of it, but yeah, that's probably what
it's so fucking good. Yeah, that's a great little segment.
How to cook 440 humans.
How to cook.
Marge just blows it for everybody. It's
Yeah,
good
but they had that
stuff.
third alien, so I guess at some point someone was like,
just
you know what,
not
that's too
on.
many aliens. We got to get rid of one of them. I mean,
Nothing
it was
else
really-
rhymes, like, or nothing else goes together. We can't.
It's
We've
true.
got Kane, Kodos. What else are we gonna have?
He was like, some other sci-fi name that was 3 syllables. The great cooker, the great chef. Like he had a really long title to him.
That didn't work out.
Just there, he's still cooking. He's just off camera.
So my favorite segment with Kang and Kodos is Citizen Kang.
when he's running for president. Yeah, when Bob Dole
Yes.
and Bill Clinton.
It gets me
I
every
watched it.
time, and I feel
This-
so bad because Bob Dole is holding that pin the whole time too. And I'm like, man, they really did that. Like now that I understand why he was
Mhm.
holding that pin, like I'm like, they really did that. And they left it in the entire time. Every time you see Bob Dole, he's got that pin in his hand. Even when they're walking and holding hands to exchange protein
What's
strands.
the
Yeah,
wait?
what
What's
is-
the pen
what's
mean?
the-
Yeah.
Okay, so Bob Dole had like this, what was it? Like Parkinson's or something like
it
that? Or he
was-
had something that deformed his hand to the point that it could not
It
open.
was like
So he'd keep a pencil. or
it
a
was
pen.
either a palsy or or some kind of sort of nerve disease, and it may have been Parkinson's, but he always did. And when he was running for president, you would always see, and it's his I think it's his right hand, right? And you
Mm-hmm. And he just
Would he write with it, or was it just like as a prop?
no, it was just there. He was
and
just
it would
holding
be
it.
out, and it's how he would
And-
point.
He's always got
He-
one if you need one.
He
That's the
couldn't
great
point
thing.
his finger, so he would have this pen, and whenever he would make a point, he would just put the pen out at you as he's making his points. It's, I mean, and yeah, I don't think. See, that's the weird part. Okay,
I mean, the attention to detail.
no, you please. The attention to detail, yeah.
No, I was gonna say, the attention to detail of The Simpsons is matched only by the attention to detail of South Park.
Yes,
That's
And-
true.
Like
That's true.
they'll have the same people in the background of the presidential debates kind of detail, but truly no other maybe Community, but no other show gets to that like level of detail and keeping track of it. And again, and also throwing it out the window for Bart being 15 or 13 for the last 35 years. So what amazes me is the things that they get right and they keep accurate, and the things that they could just, it's a cartoon, doesn't matter.
So here's the thing, like to that end. So with Bob Dole in particular, or like a person who has an affect or an affectation, I honestly think it would have been more fucked up if they had taken the pen out of his hand. Like I think that would be a weirder sort of scenario.
Yeah.
And who knows how much of that was like really sort of public knowledge at the time. I don't think a lot of it was.
And we got Big Dan in the chat, by the way. Sorry. just
Oh, we
throwing that
got
out
Big
there.
Dan in here.
Making fun of us
Big
kids
Dan.
knowing that we don't know. We don't
He
know
also-
who Bob Dole is.
He
Bob
also
Dole
said he's
needs
been
this.
in chat the entire time, and that my impression is perfect. So there we go. We'll leave it at that.
That was just say that.
Good. I thought we might lose our sponsorship there for a minute.
So, but yeah, I think it would have been more fucked up if he didn't have it, or if, and it's not like they really play on the pen. It's his
It's just
prop. It's
there.
his thing. It's what he always has, and like I like that one in particular. It's just very funny. But they also bring back a third alien not much later. It might be in maybe around the 7th or the 8th treehouse, or maybe much later. Fuck, it might be. I forget the order in which I watched these, and I was up very late last night. I filed an extension on my taxes, Liz, and now it's getting down to the wire, and I've got to get everything in. So I've been doing a lot of bookkeeping, and while I'm trying to watch this stuff, there's one where they cook the Simpsons and feed them to like their leader, and then you see on the plate, you see like Marge's hairdo, and then like some. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes. Bart
Mhm.
bursts
And
out
he
of the
goes,
leader's belly,
"Look,"
and they're like, "We'll
he
adopt
goes, "Look,
you."
I'm vomit." It's what Bart says. "Look, I'm vomit." So I mean, they do bring in other aliens, I guess, at random, but I don't know like how many times are a naming sort of convention. But and again, that's the thing. I always thought that those guys popped out potentially at random because they become so much part of the lore, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize they were only Treehouse of Horror until we did this podcast.
Oh, wow.
Wait,
Dan
no.
says Bob's hand was a war wound from World War II.
There we go.
Ooh.
See,
Oh.
Dan knows
does.
everything.
And does
Actually,
know.
he's a-
Thank you.
Yeah.
man.
He is a historical machine.
He was fighting some Nazis that were eating some bad barbecue, and he took a bayonet through the right wrist. That's what happened to him. It's a big Dan deal. So wait, no, wait.
Oh,
man.
It's Bob Dole deal. There you go. Sorry.
Well, one of my favorite bits with the aliens is the Jack the Ripper episode, where it shows them in their spaceship, and then they're also like in that same like, you know, like 1800s London like style with mutton chops.
And that's, I mean, it's so goofy. No matter what they're playing into, everything plays into it. And I think that's also the beauty of like setting mood, setting you up for success in like a horror story, right? Like I think it's a big part of it.
I mean, that's
Mhm.
true too, right? With the credits. You know, when you watch the credits, all the names are changed to like horror versions of the writers and creators. I wish I had written them down, but
Matt Gouling,
James Hell Brooks.
James Hell Brooks.
Yeah. So that was
Sam Sayonara
Yes.
Simon.
one of the executive producers' ideas, because the old EC Comics used to have the alternate titles, the scarier alternate titles.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So that was one of the executive producers' ideas to throw that in. When did they stop the epitaphs?
Oh,
They stopped that after season 5,
Okay.
and they didn't have the names Goofy on the first one. I know that much. But their complaint was that the Goofy names would cover the gravestones, and you couldn't really read them. So what was the point in doing it? Was their argument?
Makes
But I believe
sense.
season 5.
The gravestones are funny too, and one of them said Paul McCartney.
well, because Paul is dead.
Yeah, Paul McCartney has
Was
been
that-
dead for a long time.
Do y'all believe that?
Listen, I've seen
I would like to believe it. I want to believe it.
Brandon
I've seen
believes it.
documentaries. Like I think Brandon and I may have watched a couple of the same documentaries.
You guys watch the same YouTube videos of the same guy and his
Oh,
cell
he
phone?
goes down those conspiracy rabbit holes
Bro,
like crazy.
But real quick though, no, it's not just the YouTube one for the Paul McCartney thing. There is like a full blown doc, and it might even be a multi-part series that a guy did about Paul is Dead, where he presents all of the information. I think it was he died in a car accident. And then, the whole thing with the dead man don't wear no shoes.
Why is he the only one without shoes on the album
Exactly.
cover?
And
He's a hippie. He's a hippie.
And
Exactly.
He likes to do acid and feel the warmth of the asphalt.
why
between
is
his
he the
toes.
only one
All right?
walking out of step?
He's wealthier than God. He didn't need to wear shoes if he didn't want to.
He's
he didn't have
also
to.
walking out of step from everybody else. You know what I mean? He's got the other foot forward instead of the other ones. Yeah. Yeah.
I've heard it.
Yeah. John, what is it? John is the preacher. George is the gravedigger. Ringo is the mourner, and Paul is the dead man. That's the notion. Yeah. Well, he's dead as fuck. Sorry. Good.
Well, like I said, I don't know if I believe it, but I would like to believe
Well,
it. I think
everybody
that's
turned into
the
zombies
hilarious
today. You
thing.
saw that, right? So we know that everything we read on the internet and hear through these weird groups is true. Everybody turned into brain dead zombies. The graphite in our arms from the shots that we got exploded everybody's brains, and they're eating each other right now out in the wild. That's happening.
I didn't.
Didn't you get the signal?
Albuquerque, or
Wait, are you guys serious? You have no idea what I'm talking about?
I have not
I have
heard
no
this
idea what you're talking
whatsoever.
about
What are
either.
you
Oh my
talking
god.
about?
Okay. Dude, so like
I was watching The Simpsons. Man.
Yeah, I live under a rock.
Okay, so Dig, I listened to it's an awesome podcast, and we may as well like just pop it out there. When QAnon was hitting hard, right? There's a group of folks who put on a podcast called QAnon Anonymous, where basically QAnon Anonymous.
Anonymous.
Say
QAnon.
that 10 times fast.
So what they do is they initially started by breaking down all of the Q posts or whatever, right? And just how it's full of shit and how they can't believe that people were stupid enough to fall for it. And then they would break down sort of everything in those posts and showcase to you the reality and the people that are sort of working behind it. So they started doing deep dives on like politicians. They started doing deep dives on like further conspiracy theory, all of this other stuff that an unfortunate amount of our population believes, out of the general conspiracy that we all can attest to, that if people in power want to maintain that power and are working against us. That's a thing that we all can buy. That's true.
Yeah, it's like that that bit in like the season 2 of The Boys where she was like, when you see it on your uncle's Facebook page,
right.
you know it's working.
Yeah, you know it's working. But like I think we all can attest to the fact that people in power don't have our best interest in mind and are working together to that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
This is the wild shit. And they break down all the wild shit, where it stems from, and then they go back and they back it up with like actual, like real facts as to why it's bullshit. I love this show. So the most recent one they did was October 4th. And today, when we're recording this, there was another post in one of these Q boards that said on October 4th, when they did the emergency alert system trial that happened today, you could have turned it off, you could have whatever. But that in America and Israel was supposed to activate a piece of graphite in your arm or something that when you got your vaccine, if you're one of them sheeple that went out and got your vaccine,
It turned on the mind control.
I was gonna say my 5G has been great since I got the shot. I haven't had cell phone like outage since. My service
there
is
you go.
amazing.
See, that's what it is. They're coming for your brains next, bro. And it was supposed to be today, but like I can't wait to see what happens tomorrow.
Have you seen all the memes today with people with like the Romero zombies and like the Night of the Living Dead zombies?
Yes!
They're like, I got the signal. And there
Damn, I
it
haven't
is.
seen any of
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Oh yeah. It's been a huge thing, and I fucking love it. Like I love all that wackadoo shit. It makes the world fun, but to put stock in it is terrifying.
Yeah.
But it makes the world fun. It makes the world fun. But you can't really.
Yeah, that's where I kind of fall in it because I love learning about conspiracy theories and random stuff. But then it's like, I feel like the person telling me has so much stock in it that like I'm also terrified to like of those people that exist like that person. You know?
Welcome to Tennessee.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
Bro, for real.
I need to get my conspiracy content from somebody that's going to give me like how Ben describes, where it's like, here's the conspiracy. It's crazy. Here's the tinfoil hat. But actually, here's what actually happened. That's what I need from my conspiracy. Because if it's somebody that doesn't give me that, I am now concerned. Because I don't necessarily believe it off the bat.
Right.
This guy is fully drank the Kool-Aid.
And
if you guys like that kind of stuff, the Y-Files is my favorite channel.
Yeah, there was what was the new video that was really good? About Long Island.
Oh, it was all about there's a
Poke Island.
what's the name of the island?
What's it called? Like Poke Island.
I wish I remember the name of it. But it's between New York and Boston.
It's in on Long Island.
On Long Island, and they've done a ton of animal testing there, and there's a lot of evidence that the ticks from there went on to cause like the Lyme disease epidemic that happened not too far, in the 90s.
Like, do you guys know? I mean, that's like kind of supposedly based Stranger Things off of. But do you guys know about like the Montauk monster? Of like the random like, so like that was part of the video too, where it's probably came from, because like it's based off a real island that you can't go to, but it's off Long Island, like it's part of Long Island, and they're saying that's where like this like monster, they were doing all these animal testing, which is proven they did do animal testing on this island.
See,
foot mouth, there's a ton of it. And again, it's and what I love is usually this guy's channel is like he'll tell you the crazy tinfoil hat conspiracies, and then he'll explain and this one was one of those like, look, the only thing I can say is the government didn't make Lyme disease, but they certainly didn't do their power to prevent it from getting out.
God.
so it's like that's the shit that I love. Like, again, that's the same thing, because there is like in all of, and I have no idea how we got here. I'm so sorry. We should, well, maybe because it's horrifying and it's zombies and whatever, it all still fits.
This is our
It
treehouse of
is.
horror.
We're living in
Yeah,
a treehouse
no
of
shit. This is our Twilight
horror
Zone.
for fucking the last like 8 years almost. Like, yeah, it's that's what it's felt like. And the Sims predicted the start of it. So and just saying, sorry.
I love that you're laughing, but you're internally crying too, because I can see it. You're laughing, you're like, oh,
Because it's horrible,
and
it
true.
is.
But that's the best in all of this stuff, because it all seems to start from a nugget, the world's fucking like smallest little nugget of truth. Montauk Monster. Yes, at one point there was a lab there that did test on animals. Great. What is that thing that showed up? Is it associated with it? Immediately, that's where lunatics go, well, it has to be. That's it. Point A to point B. We're done. Checked off.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The whole thing. The whole deal. It's over.
That's where they're making the
You know,
vaccines.
What that like 30 years later are gonna explode your brains into like zombie stuff. Yeah. James, you're done. You could post that on the internet tonight, and then tomorrow morning some motherfucker would be like, I told you, running around the whole time. I told you guys.
I would love for like our random ass podcast to land on somebody's like conspiracy, like, documentary montage. Like, look at these people talking about it. They know it's real.
Okay, whatever. I could go off on a whole other thing. Just remind me to tell you about the Dollop and their Tickled episode, and then at some point, because literally the scenario you just described happened in real life with the Dollop.
Oh, well,
Ugh.
I would love that the fuck me. Plebis, I can't say
Plum.
Yeah, I would love the attention.
Publicity.
There you go. Thank
Yeah,
you.
good. That's a good word. Yeah, John.
Publicity. There we go.
That's a nickel word.
You guys.
5 B's for a quarter.
I feel like Homer when he was talking, like he was like, and Lisa, you say that drinking beer kills brain cells, and you go back to the house and stuff.
Okay, so did you guys get through all of them on the list?
Yeah, me and
Yes.
John walked through
Okay.
all of them. Yeah.
Did you see the Walking Dead / 28 Days Later one where they have the Munchers?
Yes. The
Yeah.
Cow
Squared.
Squared burgers.
burger at Krusty Burger. I would try that, if they had that at
Oh,
Universal.
a cow that eats a cow and then eating the meat from it? Yeah.
Well, I would hope that it's regular. It's not like they were fed grain, but you could call it a cow squared. I would buy it.
No, I would entirely eat. I would eat a cannibal animal. I think I would. I don't see anything too wrong with that.
It's popular in the animal kingdom because I looked it up while we were watching this. Just how popular is cannibalism in the animal kingdom. It's everywhere. We're like the only ones that don't do it. I'm not saying we should all
Don't
go out and
give
get
Ben
favor.
any ideas. Yeah, I was like, don't say that.
I'm just saying that's why we're God's creatures because we're the
It's-
chosen
no,
ones that don't
it's
eat
bad
each other.
out there, Liz. It's going to come to it. I believe. Thank you, John.
That's why we're friends with Big Dan. Again, I hope he's still in the chat. If it comes down to that, we're tribing, and you're the official barbecuer.
Of people.
Big Dan gets to survive because he's the official barbecuer.
Chief Dan.
Chief
Dan.
Chief Dan. Instead of the chieftain, he is the Chief Dan. Is that?
That's good
Wow.
stuff.
We are rich with puns.
We'll go pick up the berries and other spices he needs.
Oh my god.
And we'll send out like 2 hunters. They'll be terrified of Big Dan. He'll cook them up.
He'll be on a big throne. Just bones everywhere.
And just a smoker behind him, like just billowing. Like that'd be perfect. But
But I like giving that episode with the Munchers, because Bard was the chosen one. And, instead of eating him like they were going to, they were like, oh, you can just bathe in the
then
broth.
he puts his nuts in Lisa's soup. When he takes that bowl down and he's just wiggling in it, I'm just like, he is just soaking a sack in there, and that's the greatest thing ever. But beyond that, what I was getting to though was we were talking about Homer and how he doesn't make words so great sometimes, and when he gets bit by Mr. Burns, which okay. I love the show. I love all the tree houses. It's great. Fan for a long time. The biggest giggle I got out of this whole thing was when he sees Mr. Burns on the ground and he's like, who's the lazy worker now? I love that. And then what really made me pop was when he goes down and he grabs his nose and he's like, got your nose. And he's just standing there holding Mr. Burns' thing right before Burns eats his arm. Right. Hysterical. That moment right there, I was.
The bit that made me laugh the most in that is when he shoots Ned, and Ned's coming up to him as a zombie, and Bard was like, "Ned was a zombie." He was like, "Ned was a zombie."
Right. Right.
It's a good episode.
So yeah, I gotta love the Munchers episode. Yeah, then Homer turns into the zombie and Bart rubs his nuts into Lisa's soup. Oh man, have you guys seen the last one, the most recent Treehouse of Horrors? I think it's
No, I watched these on the list that we have, and I watched 24 just because I don't. That episode's actually decent, and I love Guillermo del Toro's couch gag. That's
was
where
that
I call my
XXX?
line.
Is that the one with the Shape of Water?
Yeah.
Is that the other one? All right, take that back. My apologies.
Yeah, 'cause that one's really good too. Because Shape of Water is great, and with the ants falling in love with the weird creature guy. It's just amazing.
I've famously never seen The Shape of Water. I know one thing about it though. She bangs a fish, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a fish dude.
It is one of the greatest movies. It's the only movie that truly deserved the best picture.
Really?
Got it. Because
Agreed,
it looks
John.
like a romance, maybe a sci-fi. It's not. It is an action movie, and it is a period piece, and it is every genre rolled into one, and it is the most thrilling movie I've ever watched. It is so good.
On that,
Highly recommended. The best camera work, amazing acting. It's just.
I just remember her describing to her friend how the creature's monster's penis works, and she's like, "Well, it goes like this." And spreads her hands open.
They should have just shown it. I think.
It opens with someone masturbating in the bathtub too.
oh wow,
That is true.
It
And
does.
that won an award.
How have I not?
Yeah.
How could you
This
not
movie.
love that film?
Yeah. Have you not seen
This sounds like everything I like in a movie.
Exactly.
Interspecies sex.
Interspecies erotica.
masturbation. Like it's all my favorite things, all my favorite hobbies.
And again, at its core, Ben, it's a love
Right.
story, which is like, don't you love movies that are crazy and wackadoo, but at its core are love stories?
I love a movie about love. Yeah, I love a movie about love. Our movie's about love. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
what John was trying to get to.
That's what I'm saying. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
this Shape of Water and Curse of the Werewolf are equal movies. Is all
Wow.
I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Double feature.
Lots
You
of
know
parallels.
what? I'm gonna hit up GDT and be like, hey man, you ripped me off ahead of time. Yeah.
Actually, I'm pretty sure he produced that other like that movie Antlers.
Oh yeah, he
That's
did,
true.
didn't he?
Too. Yeah.
Never mind. Maybe it's great minds think
You'll-
alike. Is what I'll say to him.
Yeah.
I love that you're cool enough with him to call him.
Oh, that's
GDP
it. Yeah, that's how we get down.
too.
Hey,
That's how we all
GDT.
roll.
That's how we get down. It's me and GDT, and then I talk to Uwe Boll on occasion. And that's real. I've never talked to.
That's a real friendship.
That's a real fact.
He made Postal, and Postal is a fucking amazing movie from start to finish.
Oh, all I say, I've watched In the Name of the King, and I was like, this is the worst movie I think I've ever had to sit
Well,
through.
My
Didn't
favorite
like-
video game of all time, or favorite arcade game, should I say, of all time, was House of the Dead, and it was so disheartening. It was so disheartening to see put to film in such a
Have
way.
you seen Postal?
No,
Okay.
I've seen the opening
I
shot of
want you-
Postal.
and I don't fault Uwe Boll for House of the Dead. Really, I mean, he did what he could
Look,
do.
this guy is a fucking genius, is all I'm going to say. And one of the sweetest men that I've ever talked to and exchanged emails with. Very, very sweet man. He is a madman. Like, at one point, he shot 3 movies at the same time. He did, what was I think it's like Blood Rain. He was on like the 3rd one of those, right? He then shot on the same sets a very serious movie about Auschwitz and a parody of the Blood Rain movie that he was making called Blubberella about a big boned lady who was, and it's a slapstick
He like
comedy.
kills Nazis, right?
Absolutely.
Wow.
So, and he used the same set
3
that he was working on for Blood Rain 3 times at the same time. So he would shoot the movie that he was getting paid for first, right? So Blood Rain all day. And then somewhere after about the 10-hour mark, he would go and he would shoot like scenes for Auschwitz, the very serious thing next. And then he would like end the day with the goofy, crazy shit all around. Madman. But Postal starts with an actual 9/11 and everything just
Yeah. I was like I said, I've seen the beginning of that movie where it's just the window washer and the airplane.
it all snowballs, and it has Dave Foley's penis in it. So there you go. Just
Wow, Dave
Yeah,
Foley,
yeah,
Kids in the
yeah, yeah.
Hole?
oh, I mean,
No
he's
shit.
full dong. Yeah, he's just hanging dong. Yeah,
Okay,
you go watch it. And if you haven't,
I'm there for Dave
if you
Foley.
haven't
dong.
seen the new Kids in the Hall either, okay,
I
yeah.
have.
Well, see, there you go.
I'm a Kids in the
There
Hall
you go.
person.
Done. I was gonna say him and Kevin are both just dongs out. Dongs are the new.
Well, so to bring it back to Treehouse Horror, because you guys haven't seen the last one, the newest
3
one that
hours
they
later.
put out, like the one last year, is pretty awesome. Like I remember watching it because I saw ads for it when it was coming out. They did a whole like anime segment where they took Death Note and turned Simpsons straight up into Death Note anime. Like everyone just like a totally different style. Like it was complete anime.
Homer's
For an-
getting drunk on sake.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
They're in Japan. Yeah, Homer's getting drunk on sake and shit. Like it's great. It's so good.
And again, you'll see like Ned Flanders will not as like a character, but in the background, you'll see him walking around, white skin, dressed as an anime character, big and buff. I'm trying to think of other just side characters. You see Jailbird as an anime character. It's so much fun to watch, just so you could look at the background, let alone the amazing story it tells.
Yeah, and they also did like a Babadook one, and then there was a third one. Well, you remember what the third one was? Well, there was a fourth one.
There was
actually.
there was 4 because the Babadook was really quick. They opened up with Bambi.
Right, there was a
There
Bambi
was a whole
bit.
Bambi segment, and it was all about Marge and Bart were Bambi and the mom, and Marge doesn't make it.
So is this the only treehouse that's 4 segments?
Oh wow.
It would have to be because again, I was amazed that it was 4.
Yeah.
And one of the and the really short one, it wasn't the Babadook one. The really short one was like in January Bart did this, and February Bart did
Oh,
this.
it was like a Vincent Price thing, right?
Yeah, it was somebody reading a book and a different animation style, maybe a minute and a half long segment, and it ends with
Oh,
Maggie
wow.
killing Vincent Price.
Yeah,
I'm
the
gonna
newest
have to
one's really
watch it.
good, so I do recommend it a lot.
I
you.
would like to vouch for the Simpsons post Disney acquisition, and I thought it was an awful, awful, awful idea. But they've had some banger episodes, and again, unlike seasons 1 through 9, it's mixed in with bad episodes. But those banger episodes are as good
Mhm.
as 1 through 9, and so I think it's worth keeping up with.
I mean, the one newer Simpsons episode I remember the most, even though now it's not even that new, probably like 10 years old. But it's definitely Barthood. Like Barthood always sits with me, because I love the movie Boyhood, and then Barthood is just such a good episode.
It is. I'm trying. I want to say that they got an original writer back for that. A lot of them get the original writers back. That seems to be the secret.
Just get the people who wrote the good episodes
Yeah.
back.
To come back and write a good episode.
Be funny again.
Yeah, I assume they're getting paid as much as they got paid for the whole season back then per episode now.
Oh, they have to be. They have
Just because,
to be.
you know, you're James L. Brooks. You wrote all the good episodes.
But isn't that also kind of crazy too? Like that's another so rarely I think you can actually take like the people who formed and crafted a thing, that you can really pull them away from it and expect it to still be the thing that everybody fell in love with.
That's very fair. The way I see the like Sunday animation domination block is, it is, in my opinion, the modern equivalent of new strip cartoons, like the funny pages in the newspaper. And as like Garfield has not been written by the same guy, it's got written by his son Charles Schultz. His son took over a long time after he passed.
That was
But it's one of those change and flow at the same rate. I would say that the Simpsons or Family Guy change and ebb and flow.
Well, but wait, no. Garfield is still Jim Davis.
Is Garfield still the same Jim Davis?
Yeah.
That's Jim Davis.
That's Jim.
Peanuts
Yeah.
is Charles
Garfield's
Schultz.
Jim
Come on,
Davis.
John. We bring you in for the Simpsons
facts.
facts, not the
Not the
Garfield
Garfield
facts.
It's fine. That's good.
That was Reeves, right? He was on that episode.
I was getting I like really in my heart I was about to like just choke a thing, because like Jim Davis is getting up there, but I don't know that he's changed the thing. But I get your point. Do you know where animation domination lost me in Fox thing? It was when it was The Simpsons and then just 3 Seth MacFarlane shows.
Yeah,
That's fair.
Seth MacFarlane
Man.
killed that shit for me.
Yeah.
That's very fair.
But then also, a lot of it's-
But not to say that the first little bits of like the first runs of Family Guy weren't wonderful. And I actually think American Dad is wonderful
feel the same way.
in some respect. But then it just it's beating a
Yeah, it
dead
really
horse.
was.
I get like a headache
And he
watching it.
can't stay Trey Parker and Matt Stone beat
Yep.
the dead horse, but they stay relevant and they're able to do it and keep the humor and keep it fresh, and it just doesn't happen with Seth MacFarlane, and I love
So
him, but it just doesn't happen.
Dan Harmon now has a show on the animation domination, which, I mean, I'm still apprehensive, like everything we've been saying, because I write off pretty much any show that goes on animation domination these days. But I watched was it Crapopolis?
Yeah, Krapopolis.
It's pretty good though. So far, it's like pretty funny. I watched only 2 episodes. I mean, now there might be 3, but I've seen 2 episodes and it's pretty fun.
I saw some kind of bumper for that and was
I
interested
enjoy
in
it a
it.
lot because it's still, again, at its core, it's a family dynamic, but the families are gods
Amazing.
and very much aren't in each other's business all that much. Have you seen it yet, Ben? I know you're a
I'm
big.
not yet, but I'm a Harmon guy, and I'm very much gonna be watching that.
I do not think he disappoints.
The animation domination, when I started to kind of get back a little bit, is when they trimmed out like Cleveland Show, and then Bob's Burgers showed up, because
Yeah.
Bob's Burgers to me is like a perfect show. Like I think it's a perfect show.
I love Bob's Burgers. But I'm also getting tired of watching having Bob's Burgers everywhere.
It's weird when you get into like a when something like that really hits. But this is the point I think I was getting at with the writers is when you start to lose so many people that were involved in that original success. It's like you can bring in someone new, like when they brought in Conan O'Brien or when they brought in somebody else, but that original group was still there and they're like, this is how we do it, these are the stories that we tell. We like to reference, old musicals. We like to make people think a little bit. And I think when you get to even potentially like a younger group that grew up on it and it becomes an echo of its own self, without it being meta or being self-aware, that you start to get a problem. You know what I mean? Like that to me is when it starts to get weird or bad. And I don't know. I think you lose a little bit of the artistry at that point. Besides, you got the people there who said this is how Homer should be. And Homer shouldn't necessarily be a parody of Homer, which a lot of times he becomes. He becomes a parody of himself. Instead of just being Homer. I don't know.
All right. Well, so we are at that point in the show. So, Liz, I don't know if you know about this, but we have our 3 rating systems that we rate a show when we watch it. So if you hate it and you just despise the show and it just fucking sucks, you give it the old Derek. And now if you like a show and it's awesome, you give it the old Zach Amico.
Success.
Now, if you really love a show, it's like the best show you could have ever watched in your life, then you got to give it. Oh shit! I'm not. There we go. Should work.
I really enjoy coming.
So you got 3 options here. You got the
Success.
or.
I really enjoy coming.
So, Liz, how are you rating this show? Which one you giving it? What are your final thoughts?
So it depends on the season and it depends on the episode, because there are some where I really enjoy
I
coming.
really enjoy coming.
There are some, but there are more often than there should be. There are successes.
Success.
Yeah, what are your final thoughts you got on Treehouse of Horror? Do you want the people to know about it?
It's fun. Don't take it seriously. I think that's the best thing about The Simpsons is that you don't have to take it seriously. People want to dive so hard into The Simpsons, and it's not meant for that. It's meant for entertainment. So have fun and watch it and make a Halloween night out of it.
Make a podcast out of it.
Right. You can dissect. I love animation, and
You're on the right show.
I love researching it. Exactly, I am. And you can dissect things down to the bone, but in the end, did it entertain you?
True. Yeah. That's facts.
And The Simpsons are fucking entertaining.
Yeah, if they're not anything, man, they are definitely entertaining through and through. And especially there's a lot of heart in there. Ben Johnson.
So
What do you get?
right before I get to that, in the chat,
I'm pointing, and I realized that where I'm pointing is not where the camera can see, so I'm pointing at you, and my hand's way over here.
Hysterical. No, so real quick in the chat, Big Dan, he says he has a recipe for all of us, and then he just ghosted us. So I have no idea what that is, but he's going to be he'll be sending us a recipe, I assume. Yeah, exactly. Maybe for the next one we'll have to cook, or I'll just make Dan cook it for me, and then I'll go.
Yeah, he'll just show it up to us.
What if he's just sent you a cannibal recipe or something? He's in Amsterdam. Anything could happen.
Oh, he is this week. That's right. I hope
Mhm.
he does. I hope.
He's in
Amsterdam?
Amsterdam.
Yeah.
We have-
Amsterdam.
We have
beat
this
me to it.
ashtray right here at our table. This ashtray is from Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Look at that. It's a sexy
Oh
lady.
wow.
It's a.
Gift from Reeve.
I have the bottle opener that's the sexy man with the huge package. So yeah, Reeves brought us all something sexy from Amsterdam, Liz. Yeah.
Aw. I have nothing sexy near me. I have
Uh,
Stimpy.
You got
So
Pee Wee
that's about
Herman.
it.
You got Pee Wee, yeah.
I mean,
That's true.
Arguably,
back there.
like of the two, Stimpy is the sexier one. Like, I think so.
Disagree with that, I.
Man, what are you rating these Treehouse of Horrors?
Definitely a success, like overall.
Success.
Yeah, and
Success.
like anything that has lasted as long as this has, because think about it. Think about it this way: SNL has hit 50, right? And there are horrible seasons of SNL. There were horrible ensembles. Anything that exists as long as this has, there are gonna be points in time.
I mean, there were bad South Park episodes
there,
and seasons.
and that's what 20 years now, 25. No, yeah, 25. If it was like
that
97,
feels like
98.
25.
Wow, that's fucked up. Old. But for The Simpsons to be around 34 years, it makes sense that some's not going to be as great as others. Not all the comedy is always going to hit with you. But to Liz's point, what they do inside of Treehouse of Horror exists outside of that. And I think they play really well in that space of it being, goofy, like John said before, a little bit gory, scary even sometimes. I think they hit those notes. And I would recommend anybody watch some Treehouse of Horror.
Success.
Hell yeah. I feel like pressing the button.
Yeah.
Success.
So, Bergio, what are you giving this show? What are you rating it?
I mean, I enjoy coming.
I really enjoy coming.
I would say I'm not the biggest of
I really
anthology
enjoy coming.
fans, right? When the Family Guy puts on an anthology, I skip that episode. But I will make it a clear and honest point to watch every Treehouse of Horror as it comes out since I was a kid. So it's the only thing that I can say consistently has drawn me to the TV. That and like Super Bowl commercials are like I love The Simpsons, and the Treehouse of Horrors are such a great breath of fresh air from The Simpsons while still giving you The Simpsons that you know and love.
Would you buy those VHS tapes now in your adulthood?
I do have a
The ones
VHS
that you-
collection. I think my parents would be very angry at me if I had them.
Would you still be scared if you had to pass by them every day in here?
So you know how like the first 2 months we moved in, I would jump every time I saw your room. James has this cutout from Guardians of the Galaxy, and at midnight the light shines in through his window, and there's just Drax staring you down, and it's a silhouette, and it's terrifying. And I would jump every time. I think for the first like 3 months I had those on the shelves, and I got water, I would jump and be like, they're back.
They're back.
The only solace I have, and it's still the saddest thing I know, is that video store is sadly gone.
Aw.
So those tapes are also long since gone, and I don't have to worry about them haunting me. So I don't think I would own them. I would choose. That's not some art I would like to keep in the house.
Well, surprise, John. Look what I have here.
Oh!
No, I don't have them. That would have been awesome though if I did. But I'm gonna give the show a
Success.
yeah. I mean, this show's. I mean, it's great. Treehouse Horrors are always fun. I said it's the only thing that I could think I'll still watch of Simpsons. Like when John was saying to you before about the animation, like they did, and I kind of blame Family Guy and also probably just technology. I felt like most shows are animated these days, but it's like, yeah, they just do like a 3-camera sitcom setup because they just have their preset homers that they can just be like, all right, we're gonna keyframe from here to here and it'll work. But when I watched the last Treehouse of Horror when they did a full anime episode. I mean, I feel like it's the only time where they actually start like trying to do shit with the animation is with Treehouse of Horror. Unlike probably the rest of the season.
That or the couch gags, really.
Yeah, the couch gags. Yeah. So I love Treehouse of Horror. I'm going to give it a success.
Before we go off, if I could do a quick thing about the older seasons had better camera work, even to the extent of what could arguably an animation error, right? In the Shining episode, Homer yells because there's no beer in the fridge, and then it cuts to Marge saying, "Homer, get a hold of yourself," and it cuts back to him, same angle, completely different background. But you're not going to think about it.
Right.
That isn't in your mind. It simply is a way to transition into that next camera move. And that's the kind of animation that you will never see in The Simpsons. They would never, to push the story, put an animation error in there because it just makes the story better.
So, and lastly, to that end, in Dial M for Murder, press pound for whatever it is. You know what I'm talking about? The crisscross, right? There is it's so Hitchcockian in the way that it's done. And I think the animators did a tremendous job of mirroring Hitchcock's style. So when Bart and Lisa are running up the slide and he's chasing her like up the slide, when they're going up that ladder, they mirror that zoom where the camera is pushing in at the same time. No, the camera is pulling away as they're like focusing
Like a dolly
zooming
zoom.
in.
Yeah, like a dolly
the
zoom.
Like the Jaws shot.
On the ladder as they're going up, and it extends this ladder so greatly, and then when they cut to the wide, it's just like a normal 6 foot tall slide. and it creates such tension in that moment, and then to cut to that wide of just the goofiest fucking thing, it's like a 6 foot tall slide is perfect. But they hit a lot of great Hitchcock notes here. I thought that was really good.
Hell yeah. So that's this week. Liz, thank you so much for joining us on the show this week. It was so much
And
ton
you
of
for
fun.
having
Great
me.
to finally talk to you and hang out.
And Liz, I'm gonna
Thank
ask
you.
a question for you because I know you're dying to know before you exit from here and before we leave tonight. You really want to know what James has planned for us next week, right, Liz? James.
Yeah, guess what? Next week we got more guests.
Oh,
We haven't had a guest in a while. People keep leaving the show rather than hanging out with us. But next week, first we're talking about a show called Ballmaster 9000.
yes,
Which is made
fucking
for the
yes.
Super Jail people. I've never seen it.
Nice. All right. I love
Um,
Super Jail.
2 seasons, Ballmaster 9000 on HBO Max. And we're going to be joined by Sebi Martinez, who suggested the show for us.
Nice.
And we're joined by his buddy Kurt, who is an actual animator. So we get actual
Cool.
animator on the show.
this is Sebi's triumphant return.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Sebi is very upset we didn't have him on for the Xavier Renegade Angel episode.
wow.
So this is a redemption episode as well.
I am excited. I've watched through Ballmaster 9000. I'm excited for this. This is going to
Have
be
you
fun.
guys ever seen it, Liz? You ever hear of Ballmaster 9000?
Yes. Well, I'm a Super
Ah.
Jail
Nice.
person. So,
Nice. See,
You Bird?
So, I've never heard of it, but again,
Yeah.
I love Super Jail, so
No,
I
I've
would
never
happily
seen
watch
it.
it.
Never even heard about it. So
That's-
I've always wanted to be the warden for Halloween, and I need to make that
Oh,
happen
that's-
one year.
God,
my God.
Wouldn't that be cool?
got time, do it this year.
you have a whole
Well, we've got a plan this year that I can't break it because it's too good.
Oh,
should be Connor's costume. Connor would play a good live action warden.
oh my God, yeah.
Wow.
But Liz, no, seriously, if you do a gender bend on the warden, that would be amazing.
That'd be amazing.
Amazing. Jen and I think we have a thing planned out too, which I have no qualms in spoiling. We're very poor this year. We're not going to go out and buy our craft costumes, but I do have wardrobe left over, and I do have the costume from last year. So I think we're going to be Skunk Ape and Banana, and we're trying.
Gosh. Well, I'll go ahead and tell you we're going to be. I'm just not going to tell you who's who. We're going to be Cactus Jack. And
Oh,
Jason.
fuck
Oh.
So
That's amazing.
You're just gonna have to
Terry
guess.
Funk right there.
Nice.
Mhm.
I don't have
Nice.
a Halloween costume. Do you?
Yeah, we don't have one planned out yet.
Are we doing another group one?
I don't know.
Historically, we have.
We were the Suicide Squad like a year ago, so we've kind of like we hit our peak. So it's like, what do we do now?
Oh no, that's not the peak. That's just the start, brother.
That's
Yeah.
just the beginning.
You guys listen, famous groups in history. I'll do a little research for you. We'll send you something. Don't worry about it.
All right, we're gonna roll out and we'll get this intro going. Thank you again, Liz, for hanging out with us. It was amazing.
Thank you for having
Always,
me.
yes.
Bye, you
Yeah, thank you, John Bergio.
Oh, of course. Happy to be here.
All right, peace out, people.
You guys, this is all Kyle's mom's fault. Shut up, Cartman. Kyle's mom is the one that started that damn club, and all because she's a big, fat, stupid bitch.